Hi, I'm Amanda, and I'm a quantum healer and past life regressionist. And in this video, I'm going to share one of the most common things that I hear from my sessions. In my sessions, I speak to my clients' higher selves, and they give myself and the client wisdom and answers on really big life questions. And one of those common questions is, how do I become unstuck? How do I move forward? How do I get my energy moving? And a lot of times this will happen if the client is feeling, maybe stuck in their career, maybe they're feeling blocked by certain energies that are holding them back, maybe some sort of trauma that's happened to them earlier in their life. And I will say that almost every time this question is asked, something around getting outside and finding time in nature comes up. And that, amongst a few other things like meditating more and working on self-love, these are all really big, huge pillars of moving through life. But a big one I hear all the time is spending more time in nature. And if you think about it, it's because when you go into nature, you are finding yourself in a flow state. Nature is the most organic version of flow state that we can find, right? Because nature is the earth growing, literally growing and flowing in its most natural, organic way. Most of the time, if you go into a forest or find yourself on a hiking trail, it is minimally manipulated by humans or anything else. It's just Mother Earth doing her thing in flow. And so the more time you spend in that energy, the more you will be able to absorb that feeling of flow. And why is finding flow state so helpful for getting unstuck? Well, if you think about it, like when you're stuck, you're literally in one place, right? You're like having trouble moving. And the exact opposite of that is finding flow, right? Moving and getting your energy moving. So when you surround yourself with nature and you surround yourself with that natural organic flow, you're naturally going to start absorbing that energy yourself, and you're going to just, for some reason, feel better and feel like you can get yourself moving through the energy of your life too. And I want to share a really beautiful past life story that came through around spending time in nature. And so I was working with a client, and we were exploring a past life where she saw herself in this very like Hawaiian, Polynesian-esque island lifetime. We don't know where it was. It may or may not have been on Earth, probably not actually, but it was just this really beautiful island. And she lived in a village with a lot of other people. They had, little huts and stuff like that. And they just lived their lives in flow. There was just so much nature all around them all the time. And one of the cool things I remember about that past life is that they all had tattoos. They were all covered in tattoos. And it's funny that I'm covered in tattoos too. Maybe I've had a lifetime there too, but they were all covered in tattoos, but they don't paint their own tattoos or they don't draw their own tattoos. Their tattoos actually appeared on them whenever they hit a significant life milestone. So I asked her what some of her favorite tattoos were from that lifetime, and she was telling me about how there was one from when she met her partner in that lifetime, and she and her partner had like sort of matching tattoos that showed up when they met each other. There was another one where they were visited by the Lyrans, who are another like cat species from another planet, and so she had a lion tattoo on herself that was a reflection of her Lyran brothers that had visited them and that were super close to them. And it was just this really beautiful, again, like kind of, even their tattoos were in a state of flow. Like their tattoos would move, they would change, they would flow based on the experiences that they had in that life. And another really beautiful thing about that lifetime was just the depth of their connection to not just nature, but the animals in their land too. They were a mostly plant-based diet. The village didn't really eat meat, but they did eat fish. And the only times they would eat fish would be when they would actually ask the fish for permission to take their life. And I asked for details on how that worked. And they would swim out into the ocean and connect with the fish. And for those of you that are familiar with animal communication, animals are actually telepathic. They actually speak to us through telepathy. They speak to each other through telepathy. So a lot of it is just through your thoughts. It's just through, almost like an imagined form of communication, but it's happening in a different dimension that you just can't see and hear and perceive as a human. But they would telepathically ask the fish if the fish were willing to sacrifice their life, give up their life to nourish the people. And sometimes the fish would say yes, sometimes the fish would say no. And if the fish said yes, they were willing to, then they would take the fish and they would very respectfully and lovingly, almost like ceremoniously, take the fish's life and then pray for it, thank it, and then consume it with a lot of intention and gratitude. And one of the interesting things about the people in this village is that when I asked how old my client was in that lifetime, she was like, I'm middle-aged for this race. Like, in their village, she was considered middle-aged, but in human terms, she would be considered extremely old. And so you can get a sense of how these people were living for a really long time too. And I think that's just a testament to the power of living your life so deeply connected to nature and in a constant state of flow, and not only connected to nature, but also connected to the animals and literally everything about the land. So that's all to say, the next time you're feeling a little stuck in your life, whether it's physically, energetically, emotionally, just get out into nature and find yourself in some sort of flow state. I hope this video was fun and interesting. I'm Amanda, and I offer quantum healing sessions, both virtually and in my office in Los Angeles. So if you're interested in working with me, check out my website, and I will see you in the next video.